Mr. President, this past weekend, Republican presidential hopeful Donald Trump did what he did best, said something dishonest and really distasteful. In speaking about the senior senator from Arizona, he mocked Senator John McCain, mocked his service in the Vietnam conflict. He went so far as to say that John McCain was not a war hero. Mr. President, John McCain and I came to the House of Representatives the very same day, both new members of the House. His representing a district in Arizona, my a district in Nevada. We're neighbors. We served together in the House. We came here to the Senate at the same time. He's one notch ahead of me in seniority in this body because the state of Arizona has more people than Nevada. That's how seniority is determined when you come in, among other ways. John McCain was a naval pilot coming from a family who served our country in the military admirably for decades and decades. His grandfather, his father. John McCain, in one of his first missions over Vietnam, was shot down, badly injured, broken back, arms hurt very, very much. He was placed in a Vietnamese concentration camp where he spent almost 6 years. About half that time was in solitary confinement, and many days and weeks of that was spent being punished, tortured, re-breaking parts of his body that had been broken. Mr. President, John McCain, to me, is a hero. I think here's a person who has represented this country admirably in the Congress. He was a Republican nominee for president. America knows John McCain. I personally have some disagreements on policy on an occasion or two with John McCain, but we've never disagreed about our relationship. And my relationship with Senator McCain is one where I have great admiration for him, for his strength of character, for his moral courage in Vietnam. So, Mr. President, in the aftermath of these remarks about John McCain, Republicans have been falling all over themselves to criticize Donald Trump. But it makes me wonder, where are all these same Republicans when Mr. Trump slandered millions? It was only a month ago that Trump said, and I quote, "When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best, they're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing them those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're bringing rapists." That's his quote. When Trump insulted the senator from Arizona, a member of his own party, Republicans couldn't denounce him fast enough. But when Trump called immigrants rapists, there was nothing but silence, nothing but silence. There's an ugly truth behind that silence, and it's this. When it comes to immigration policy, and frankly most other policy, there's no meaningful difference between the Republican Party and Donald Trump. Consider the facts, just on this one issue. Trump rejects a pathway to citizenship for these undocumented. Instead, he favors a system of merit that creates a road to legal status. He's never, ever spent 2 sentences defining that. We've heard before the same kind of talk from Republicans, those running for president. I think we're going to have 16 of them now. Jeb Bush rejects a pathway to citizenship. He claims to support a pathway to legal status, but, quote, not necessarily citizenship, close quote. Scott Walker rejects a pathway to citizenship. He said, and I quote, "If somebody wants to be a citizen, they need to go back to their country of origin." The junior senator from Texas also rejects a pathway to citizenship. He said, and I quote, "I think that it's likely that there could be some bipartisan solution to these who are here illegally if a path to citizenship were taken off the table," close quote. Governor Chris Christie rejects a pathway to citizenship too. He said, quote, "It's an extreme way to go," close quote. Trump wants to terminate President Obama's executive action on immigration, tearing apart millions of families and about 800,000 dreamers. We've heard that before too. Jeb Bush also wants to repeal President Obama's executive actions. On Fox News, he said, that was on the Hannity show, he would repeal Obama's executive amnesty. That's a quote. Junior senator from Texas also wants to terminate the president's executive actions. Here's what he said, I quote, "If I'm elected president, the very first thing I tend to do is, on the first day, rescind every single unconstitutional or illegal executive action from President Obama," close quote. Governor Chris Christie is actively opposing the president's executive action. In fact, his state joined a lawsuit challenging President Obama's actions. The junior senator from Florida also rejects President Obama's executive action that keeps families together. Senator Rubio's spokesperson told one news outlet, and I quote, "Immigration executive orders won't be permanent policy under a Rubio administration," close quote. These are the facts. When it comes to immigration policy, and I mentioned, sadly, most other policy issues, there's no daylight between Donald Trump and the rest of the Republican field. So while the rest of the Republican presidential hopeful may not engage in the same repugnant rhetoric, make no mistake, they're all on the same page with Donald Trump. I ask each Republican running for president, name one difference between your immigration policy and that of Trump's immigration policy. Given recent history, there will be a deafening silence. When Trump insulted McCain, Republicans couldn't denounce him fast enough. But when Mr. Trump called millions of hardworking immigrants rapists and murderers, nothing but silence. Maybe this is because none of the Republicans running for president can name a single way in which they disagree with Trump's policies on immigration. In the meantime, Democrats will continue to fight to pass comprehensive immigration reform, just as we did more than 2 years ago. We'll continue to fight Republican piecemeal legislation that criminalizes immigrant whole communities. And we'll continue to fight for immigrant families who are constantly being scapegoated by today's Republican Party.